Hey guys, we're back again with episode 12 of Words Are Tough, and my name is Jose Rodriguez, and I'm here with my co-host
David D. Okendo.
And we have an awesome episode for you today about our journeys and things we did when we did some traveling.
Yeah, travel. Travel's really important. I realized at an early age how important traveling is. I think because humans tend to be creatures of habit, and you settle down to one spot and then you get comfortable, and you have your norms, some cultural norms, people that you see every day. But I think once you start traveling, and traveling is a very broad term. It could be travel to the next state over, travel to New York City, or travel around the world, but kind of getting just familiar with our cultures and everything. I mean, sometimes travel's a great experience, sometimes is a terrible experience. But I think it isn't until I started traveling is when I realized, oh wait, the world is really big, but also the world is really small at the same time. It's a weird dichotomy there, but there's an importance to travel. And I've had many art students that they said, oh, how do I become a good artist? I'm like, well, do you travel? They're like, travel? Why would I want to travel? I just have my phone or whatever. I can just Google that. And I'm like, nope, definitely travel. You gotta get up and go somewhere. I mean, phones are great. Phones are awesome, and I love how phones can connect you with people. But for example, seeing the Mona Lisa on my phone as opposed to seeing the Mona Lisa in person are two completely different experiences. It's not a great painting in my opinion, but it's a very different experience when you're in person, in front of the whatever you're gonna go see. Even I had students that they've lived in New York their whole life and they never once even traveled to New York City, and it's literally a 20-minute path train ride, and they're like, no, why would I go to New York City? I mean, I'm like, okay. And I actually have a yearly trip, an annual trip, where I take 10 to 15 students and maybe another teacher to chaperone, and we go on the path train from Newark Penn Station. We take the path. I show them how to use the path train. We go to Chelsea, New York, where all the galleries are, and we go gallery hopping, and it's just really just for them to kind of just how close legit high-end established galleries are compared to where they live, but also just traveling, and they actually I mean, maybe out of a group of 15, maybe 2 of them might have been familiar with path trains and travel, and it's really important. And that's a small travel, but I know people that don't even know how to take the bus.
Yeah, that's one thing I miss about Uber. When I used to do Uber before the pandemic, I'd get these sometimes I'd do early morning trips, and I'd get this ride right into the city at 9 a.m. and I'm like, wow, now I'm in the city on Tuesday morning and it's 9 a.m. So much potential, so many galleries. And that's when I used to actually go to galleries there. Nice. And I just look up, I had this app, I forgot the name of it. I'll link it in the description.
You say that a lot.
Yeah, I'm loving the links in the description.
You're just putting more work on your end, but okay.
I think it's called Art NYC.
Actually, yeah, it's something like that.
Very great resource.
It's a pretty. I think it's a website, and I think now it's also an app that you can actually look up different events and galleries, and it has a nice legible map, which is really good.
And it's awesome because when you're in the city, the app actually works off of your location, so you can just be like, I'm here now, and it just tells you all the free ones and all the paid ones. So
it's a pretty cool experience. But I mean, by the way, we were filming or recording in New Jersey, if anyone's wondering. So if you're listening overseas, we're in the United States, New Jersey, not New York. This episode is sponsored by Nbox, a modern mailing center designed to meet the security needs of our time. Whether it's shopping for our favorite products or paying monthly bills, statistics show a transition to online convenience. It's quick and simple, which is why we love it. Unfortunately, it's created a new kind of criminal that seeks to steal your identity or take your package right from your porch. At Nbox, your postal mail isn't delivered to a mailbox that thieves can access in order to discover your private information. Instead, your mail is scanned and uploaded to a secure app you can access from anywhere in the world. You control what's opened, forwarded, shredded, or discarded with just a few clicks. To sweeten the deal, you no longer have to worry about ordering expensive items online, only to have them sit in front of your residence unattended. Simply shop online as you normally would and ship everything directly to their secure facility. You'll receive an instant arrival notification so you can stop by for a pickup or arrange a custom delivery at a time when you're home to receive it. As a listener, you can enjoy $5 off the lifetime of your subscription to an Nbox package plan when you enter tough words without spaces at checkout. Visit www.nboxdelivers.com to learn more.
Awesome. Yeah, and we want to thank Nbox for being a part of our journey. It's really awesome what they're doing, and we're looking to both grow together in massive ways. Our next sponsor, of course, is our Day One Premier Rank Marketing. If you have any marketing needs, whether it's Facebook campaigns, social media presence, even they're doing TikTok ads now, all types of things, we've got you covered. Mailing lists, pretty much anything you need in today's climate to grow. They've pretty much shifted with the pandemic and, making your business a lot more digital, and anytime that things shut down, you could still keep on pushing forward and even double your profits that way online if you haven't set it up yet. So reach out to them. Their description is right below. And our other two sponsors are Rick's Barbershop. If you're in the Garfield area and you need a fresh cut for your date, for your headshots, whatever you have going on this weekend, visit Rick. Tell him Jose sent you, Jose and David, or WordsrTough sent you, and he'll definitely hook you up. And our last sponsor is Worldwide Solutions. If you right now tax season is over, but they also do insurance, travel. They do everything that a business needs, payroll, all types of things like that. Just reach out to them, and they can get you all the services that you need. We really appreciate all our sponsors. And back to the episode.
I actually remember one time when I studied abroad to London, England. Everyone was like, New York? And I'm like, close enough, New Jersey. They're like, same thing. I'm like, no, it's not. But okay, I'm not going to argue with you. But yeah, England was interesting because, like you ever see like Shakespeare or like King Arthur movies where they have like a bag, like a bag of just coins.
Yeah.
And you're like, who does that? Like, that's so old school. I believe it or not, I actually ended up buying like a little bag of coins because 1 to 2 pounds is an actual coin. And a pound is actually more than $1. So it might just look like a coin, but it's actually more than $1 or $2. So I literally carried a little like man purse satchel thing, carrying it around. It's actually kind of interesting, but like it's such a bizarre thing because in England they speak English, but it's very different, and it's very, very like weird, and it's like, hey, you look kinda American, stereotypically American, but you're not speaking American, and the food's a little bit different. By the way, the English food, very stale. Yeah. Very, very, very stale. If you go to England, or specifically London, go to the Indian spots. There's a lot of Indian cuisines in England, and spicy, but if you can go to the nearby pub and just get like fish and chips, and it's good.
Bangers and mash.
Yeah, it's all good, but it's very stale in comparison to like other cuisines. But yeah, like it's.
I was just gonna say, I dated an English girl one time, and I got really close to her family for a short, brief period, but it fizzled out quickly. But at one point, I stayed with them for a little while at their home, and they would cook. Right, the mother would cook, and they would really the only stuff that they would cook when people were over would be curry, and things like that. And
Yeah.
that's really the good stuff. And then everything else aside from that was like bangers and mash, which is really just mashed potatoes and sausage, which is great. I love that.
Oh yeah, like I can eat that all day. But
fish and chips too.
But when you go travel, you kind of wanna spice it up.
Yeah.
Literally and figuratively, like you wanna something interesting.
Yeah,
know?
I see on some of these groups. I'm a part of like a lot of food groups on Facebook, and they'll be like, just because I guess they hate American food just because it's so like greasy and things like that. They like to like look up at it.
We're slobs. Like,
yeah, so they have like a power rankings chart of like all the best English breakfasts. That is interesting. You should check that out.
Okay.
But it's weird though because it's like baked beans on toast, and it's like
very different.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, speaking of food, like the spot I love to go to, even though it's far from Japan, is Mitsuya, which is in not River Edge. It's that town is predominantly just Korean. Oh gosh, is it Fort Lee?
Not Rivervale.
Not River.
Old Japan.
No, it's near the river. It's near the it's near the Hudson. I forget. That's just terrible. Now it sounds like I'm BSing. But no, there's this place called Mitsuya, and it's awesome. It's literally just
Cliffside Park. Right,
no, literally like the word river is
okay.
like in the word in the town. But you know, you can get legit like grocery, like not Japanese groceries, but it's a grocery store and shop that actually sells legitimate produce and products from Japan. I mean, it costs a little bit more, but it's awesome. I love going there, and there's also shops outside that sort of mini mall area where they actually have like bookstores and stuff that they sell anime stuff. And it's very expensive because it's all the tariffs or shipping and everything. But I enjoy it because I like not adopting, but I like understanding and kind of embracing other cultures. And this is something that I kind of started doing fairly. I mean, around my adulthood, where like I like comfort. I'm very much like a homebody. Like I like staying home, and I know where everything is. I know I'm comfortable. And in the previous episode, we talked about like towards the end, we talked about change. But like when I go to other countries, I really force myself to like I have to like don't stay in the hotel, go out, talk to people. And my brother's really good at that, and I actually want to have him on the podcast because I'm an artist and art teacher and all that. I love traveling, but he's in the military, so he travels. Like he's been traveling for the past 15 or so years. But I won't say he's like a social butterfly, but like he's completely okay. Like, hey, I'm gonna just go and enjoy Amsterdam. But there's places I went to like like Amsterdam, where so for me, and also I know I'm going everywhere now, but it's not just traveling; it's who you're traveling with, and that matters a lot. Like there's certain times I travel with my mom, and I noticed I couldn't quite enjoy the place as I wanted to because she was there, and I'm a son, and I'm like trying to protect her. Like I don't want her to get mugged or something like that, and she's a small 4'11", Hispanic woman, not intimidating in any way. So I'm like, I want to enjoy myself, but I need to keep her close and not be out too late because and not be at shitty spots. If I was with friends, like, oh, okay, we'll go here, we'll go there, whatever, it's not a problem. But the oddest position I was in was when I went to Amsterdam, which is in Holland or the Netherlands. I don't know which one they prefer, whether it be Holland,
I think Holland
or the Netherlands. And we went to the red light district, the famous red light district in Amsterdam.
Awesome.
And it was bizarre because if I was with friends, I wouldn't take part and pay for services. And that's not my thing. I don't know. I just feel like, hey, I don't know you. What's your name? Can we go on a date or 2 or 3 before anything happens? I'm that kind of guy. But anyway, I was with my mom, so I'm like, we're walking up and down these streets and buying food and from vendors and whatnot. But then you just see, like, how if you go to the mall or any store and you literally see a mannequin dressed up in okay, and you kind of go window shopping.
Yeah.
It's that, but with actual people.
Nice.
And they're like 90% naked.
Okay.
So imagine just walking in Amsterdam in a foreign place. You don't speak the language or very little. And you're just like, oh, there's a half naked woman there. She's beautiful. And mom's like, well, she's so pretty. I'm like, yeah, but what's even the point in being here? We're not going to, I don't know. It was really bizarre, but I enjoyed it. But at the same time, I think, picking and choosing who you travel with and, like, when you go and all that does matter. Don't just, like, I mean, then again, us as men, we can say, well, we can just go by ourselves, just go and feel somewhat safe. But I'm pretty sure it's very different, with women traveling. Travel in groups, it's safer,
Yeah.
I don't want to distrust other countries, but, like, it's just wiser to just travel in groups.
And sometimes it's not even the people. Sometimes it's saving yourself from the laws, because laws are very different. Even from state to state, when you're driving, you get yourself in hairy situations. Now imagine going to, like, let's say
farmland,
Myanmar or something that's like that. You might cross the street wrong and then now you're in trouble.
Yeah, that happened to, I think, David Cho, who is do you know who David Cho is?
Yeah, awesome.
Interesting guy, but I knew of him many years ago when he did Facebook, back when Facebook was very, very new, back in 2006 or 2007. He was hired by Facebook to decorate, paint their offices or headquarters at the time. And do you know this story?
I do.
Okay, yeah. So for you guys that don't know, he was going to get paid. Like, he had no money or very little or to no money. And they said, hey, we don't have a lot of money. We could only pay like half of what you're asking, which was like something like 40 grand or 30 grand, which is a lot. If you don't have that kind of money, you're broke. Like, that's a lot of money. And they said, well, or you can just take our stock. And he's like, I'll take the stock. And now he's just like a multi-millionaire.
Yeah.
But I think he's Korean, but he went to China. And he got into an altercation with a cop, ended up punching a cop in the face, which you don't do. Cop, like, breaks his face or something like that. And he was, like, in jail for, like a year?
Yeah.
Like, he just stuck there. Like,
two crazy things really quick
China.
about. The first thing, before we get too far away from the story, the one thing is he had a lot of struggles, and he forgot he had the stock. And this whole time he had this money. And he was like I'm saying, like, he was like living poor, and part of it was his, his own doing and stuff like that. But at the same time, he didn't know this whole time he had like $4 million.
Yeah, it wasn't until much later in his career, like maybe like 10 years later, where he realized, like, oh, I actually have a lot of money. And,
that's a really crazy story.
That guy's not to me, but he's as time passed, people have viewed him as very problematic. He's an interesting guy.
Yeah, no, he definitely has a lot of things out there that he does that I don't condone him. But he was one of the reasons why I started like the Vice network before it was even big.
Vice just is garbage now.
Yeah, I used to watch it.
I hate to say something is garbage, but Vice is garbage right now.
I used to watch it before. I would like to say it before pretty much all of my friends, like when David Cho did this thing where he would go from
hitchhikers.
Yeah, the hitchhikers thing.
Yeah.
He would go from, like, let's say Florida all across to California.
Yeah.
Or he'd go north to south, and he did it in Europe too.
You go to, like, Florida to Maine, or from, like, New York to LA, and
yeah, he went
by hitchhiking.
Yeah, and one of them he talks about when he was in jail in China, and he has a really funny story that is not too PG, but I'll make it as PG as possible.
Try your best.
But he was like, he's like, I've been in jail in Rikers Island, and I've been in jail in China. And he's like, the cool thing about China was that it's different. Like, the jails, like, when you take a shower in Rikers, he's like, it was very embarrassing and demeaning because it's like all the guys are in the showers.
Yeah.
And he's like, most other guys in Rikers were like Latino or African American,
people that look like us and or darker, us Hispanics and blacks.
So he's like, it's kind of intimidating for me being naked with them in the showers.
The Korean guy with a bunch of black guys and Hispanic guys is just like, what's up, homie?
But then he said it was the opposite. He said the tables turned when he went to jail in China. And he's like,
he was the dark guy, the minority of sorts.
And he said that what happened was the bathtubs there are no bathtubs. It's like this big kind of like sunken pool. and everyone just gets into the pool, and then he was like, he realized he's like when they all stood up to get out, and he stood up, and everyone was like just staring at him, like they just were like, oh, he's like, this is what it feels like.
Oh, like I guess I'm not as, I guess endowed.
Yeah,
in that area.
He got mad respect. He went up the ladder of the jail really quick.
Well, he travels in a very different way, and not the safest way. And
definitely.
I don't think if I were to travel I don't think he does that anymore. But if I were to travel like him, like hitchhiking across the country, I don't think I really enjoy it very much. But speaking of like being poor, or rich, the one place I've been to that I felt really poor, like, oh, we're homeless, like this, we're homeless poor. Me and my family went to Monaco, and I know where Monaco is. It's actually the second smallest country in the world, next to the Vatican. It's where they actually had the Monaco Grand Prix, where they actually had race cars driving through the city. Wow. And to have a Grand Prix, you actually need to have, to have a Monaco Grand Prix or like the California Grand Prix. I don't even think there's like a California Grand Prix, but you actually need to have your course in your land mass, right? And they're not very big. I think they're like 3 miles around or the wide. I don't know. They're very small country, and that was probably the most humbling experience, because you would just see people casually just driving like Phantoms. Not like one, like it's like to them as Phantom is like a Civic. It's like, and we're just kind of sitting there and like walking around, going to some cathedrals, some shops, and we just look at the prices of everything. Like, we can't afford any of this. Why are we here? It was like we spent like maybe like a day there, had lunch, the most humblest. Is humblest a word? The most humbling like lunch possible, because it was just so expensive. I think it's one of the richest countries in the world, but then again, it's also one of the smallest countries in the world. But the Monaco Grand Prix is like pretty up there when it comes to like race cars, like racing. Yeah,
that whole area has these like little countries that are like completely blowing away, like I guess the per capita.
Per capita, they're like super rich.
Like Luxembourg, Estonia. I know all of those countries are like, they're making a lot of money. It's like a whole different world, pretty much.
Yeah, it's and also the interesting thing about Europe, especially Western Europe, is these countries are not very large and they're very close together. So you can just take a train to like, take a train north, south, east, or west for an hour, and you're in a different country, speaking a whole completely different language. If you're in New Jersey and you travel west for an hour, you're probably still in New Jersey. And
yeah, you're at the border. Shout out to
if you travel 10 hours from New Jersey, you're still in the United States 10 hours west. You're gonna like, and I mean, I don't want to badmouth Americans, but like, we got to get out more when it comes to like visiting other countries. And Cancun doesn't count, and and Canada doesn't count. So go out. I mean, I do travel to Puerto Rico here and there. I've traveled there, I believe, 4 times since I was a child, or 3 times, I forget. But but I don't consider that traveling. That's just kind of going home kind of thing. And but when I go there, like here, I'm Latino. I'm Hispanic. I'm brown as brown can be. Especially in the summer, I get like sausage brown, like Vienna. Is it Vienna sausage or blood sausage? Anyway. But when I go there, it's like, oh, this is my gringo cousin. I'm like, hola. It's like I'm like an Oreo when I go there. So I feel Hispanic here. I feel like, oh, I'm Puerto Rican. And then I go there, I'm like, oh, I'm not as Puerto Rican as I thought.
Yeah.
Like they're Puerto Rican. But my mom's like, no, don't dismiss yourself. Like, you're Puerto Rican, and just because you're raised in the mainland United States doesn't make you any less Puerto Rican, but still, when you go back to your, place where you were born, and you realize, oh wait, I'm not as tight or as close as I used to be with my culture, I suppose. But do you ever travel back to? I honestly forgot where your family's from.
Well, actually, it was on my list. My family's from Guatemala.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
I think we did that at episode 1. I think, right?
You mentioned it, and
yeah.
That was about maybe a month or two ago.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so
more than a month ago.
That's definitely one of the places on my list that I've traveled to maybe twice. Yeah, twice in my life. Once when I was like 10, and once when I was more like 23.
So you were born here?
No, I was born there, but I came here when I was like
very young.
Literally, I think they said that they waited for the 40 days, which is the limit, and then we flew here, and then we bounced around a lot. And
like ready, go. All right. And
yeah, we came to Miami. Then my parents went to California. Then my parents went to Boston, New York, New Jersey, all within maybe when I was like the first year.
Yeah.
Then they landed in good old Jersey, in Passaic.
Jersey. Yeah, it's such a weird thing. Like, they're just weird spots where just certain demographics, certain ethnicity just kind of stick to. And for whatever reason, New Jersey is a spot that my mom and dad picked. I think it was because my dad was I think it's because my dad was stationed in McGuire Air Force Base. He's in the Air National Guard. And I think that's why I moved to New Jersey. But of all places, we moved to Patterson. Like, why? Like, what? Like, that's... I'll love to Patterson, but, worst... I mean, you know how, like, when you're born... You know how some people have, like, that first memories? Like, I guess this is rhetorical, but not really. Like, do you remember, like, your first memory? Like, hey, I'm existing now. Like, you ever had that? Do you remember that moment when you came to? I do have some of those. Yeah, I do have some of those early memories. Yeah. Yeah, like my first memory in Patterson was, I was sitting down with just underwear in the kitchen, and it was like the summer, and I remember my underwear. It was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles underwear, and I was playing with a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, but it was like broken. It had like no legs or something like that. And my mom was cooking, and a rat just runs past my feet from the opening of the kitchen to the back door, and my dad just runs down across the kitchen, just beats the living hell out of this rat, and just I don't know what I think he stomped on it. I forget, and he cleans it up and dumps it in the trash. And I'm witnessing this, and I'm like, I don't know that sensation, but it's this thing of like, oh no, this is definitely 100% memory. And my mom's like, don't do that to the in front of the baby. Like what's wrong with you? And he's like, oh, don't worry, he's not gonna remember anything. And that's my first memory. But I mean, they're speaking obviously in Spanish, but like I remember specific, and I asked my mom like, hey, I had this memory. Did this happen? She's like, oh yeah, 100% happened. Like I remember exactly what you're talking about, and it smelled like. We were living next to a old gasoline station, and I don't know, back then in the 80s, gasoline stations smelled like gasoline station. It smelled like gasoline. Now they're good at like keeping that smell at bay. You know, you can still kind of smell it, but they're good at like, okay, you can go to a gasoline station now and, you know, not smell anything. Back then, it just stunk that block just stunk. Yeah. You knew you were near a gasoline station because you could smell it. So we lived next to that, and it was rat infested, cockroach infested. It was humble beginnings. But I'm really happy we lived there very maybe like a year or two, very temporary. Yeah. But yeah, I could tell you, I was in Passaic for a while, and I was the youngest child. My sister and brother were I'm like 8 and 10 years apart from my brother and sister. Yeah, I think you mentioned that before. Yeah, so like they were in the school system in Passaic, and my parents didn't like it too much, but they went through high school, and they put me in like private school through like 5th grade, and that's when I came to Garfield. Yeah, that's when I met you. Yeah, and I was like 6th grade, and then middle school, high school, stuff like that. We were in Garfield, which was like back then was a more like, I would say like a little step up in the school system and like sports and things like that when it comes to Passaic, less rough neighborhood. Mm-hmm. Now it's kind of like blended together over the last 15 years, more with like, city programs and things like that.
people trying to get out of Passaic and stuff like that. So it's blended more, and but yeah, I mean it's been now I've been here for a while. Now it's pretty much just looking for the next step. The next house. I know you moved out. How long ago was it that you moved from Garfield? I think it was in high school, right?
Puerto Rico to Patterson, from Patterson to Garfield. I moved from Garfield to Pompton Lakes around 6th or 7th grade or 8th grade, middle school. And then from Pompton Lakes, I've currently lived in Lake Apacong area, Roxbury area. There's a bunch of small towns in like Roxbury. It's called Roxbury Township for a reason, because there's a bunch of small towns.
Okay.
I don't want to say the exact town I live in because it's so small. If
right.
I say the town, like, oh yeah, I know exactly where you live. I'm not gonna say where I live, but definitely New Jersey, and it's very nice. But what's the most I guess you can say foreign or place you traveled to that was like, oh, this is very different. Like, this is a very different place. Like, have you been to?
Oh
yeah,
it would just be Montreal.
Montreal, okay.
Yeah, Montreal was awesome.
So?
Well, it's just because it's like really different. Like, it's like the whole French Canadian.
Yes.
When I went to Guatemala, I'm Hispanic and I speak Spanish, so it's just kind of I kind of knew what to expect, but it was different from that. But Canada is like even the architecture. Everything.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah, it's totally different.
Black squirrels, which I hate.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned last episode.
Yeah.
Hate squirrels. It's for me. It's definitely. I think it's a combination of. I mean, because it's mostly any European country. Like I've been to Germany, Holland, France, England. I think it might be France that might have been the most different. Just the mannerisms are different. And like, I'm not a big eater in any way, but I lost like almost 10 pounds traveling in France for like 2 weeks, because the portions are significantly smaller. Like if you want to lose weight, just go to France for like 2 or 3 weeks, because like it's like even. Like, for example, like a yogurt cup, here a yogurt cup is like, it could be lunch for some people, a yogurt cup. Yogurt cups here are like the tiniest little, like, they're so bitch. Like, they're so small. I'm like, what is this? Like, oh, it's a yogurt cup, and it's so expensive. Like, how is this little thing, like, I don't know. I think they had euros at the time. Yeah, they didn't have francs, they had euros. Like, €2. This makes no sense. Like, oh, go away. Like, all right, American, go away. But it's this thing, like, but the good thing about, I mean, I'm the type of person where I can't really learn a language in a book or like on an app. I actually have to be there and learn the language, because it's kind of like survival thing. Like, hey, if I don't learn this, I'm not gonna get fed. So
yeah,
you learn quick little phrases here and there, and like, okay, how much is this? Where's the bathroom? How much does this cost? Et cetera. But
where's the library?
Donde es biblioteca? Yeah, no. Like if I'm not in Puerto Rico, or if I'm not in a Spanish-speaking like culture or environment, I just forget how to speak it. But when I went to Germany, it was learning some phrases here and there in German. I guess they call it Deutsch. Not that difficult, because it's very similar to English. There's a lot of root words similar to English, so it wasn't terribly difficult. And I know like a lot of movies, they make Germans seem like very like understandably like stuck up and like very, I don't know, serious. They're not. They're actually very friendly, especially when they drink. They're the most friendliest people I've ever met. And they love Americans because Americans bring money. Like they really enjoy it. The only place where like, it was kind of like, I don't know, was France. But luckily my passport says Puerto Rico. And they're like, oh, Puerto Rico. I'm like, yeah, Puerto Rico, yeah. I was born there, so that's what my passport says. But They're like, oh, I don't like Americans, but Puerto Ricans are nice. I'm like, yeah, we're same thing, kind of. Yeah. But yeah, sure. But it's but my go-to places to travel is definitely more Asian countries like Japan and China. But I need a reason. I need some sort of project or something like that.
Oh, so those are like the places you want to go to?
Yeah, I want to go to Japan and China, some places like that. Like, you know, maybe find a gallery to show art in and such. But speaking of you know, travel, but like, what's like the worst flying experience you've had? Either like the actual airline or just the experience in general.
It's funny because I actually mentioned it in the last episode.
Yeah.
It was,
I mean, I guess you can repeat it.
Yeah, I think it was. I'm trying to remember where I flew to. I think it might have been Las Vegas. I always forget I went to Las Vegas, but
I've been there too. It's nice.
I think it was when we were going there. The pressure built up inside of my head because I was sleeping the whole trip. And when I woke up, it was just like unbearable. Like it felt like it was like I had 1,000 rubber bands around my head.
That's not fun.
Yeah, it was really bad.
When you went to Las Vegas and you walked the strip, did you have? I mean, I love Mexicans, but they're definitely Mexican. Did you get Mexicans with flashcards or like flyers, just kind of like giving you flyers?
No.
When I went to Las Vegas, every like maybe like 30 yards or 40 or so yards, there were like, there's always a short Mexican dude handing out like flyers for like, you know, I guess legal prostitution, I don't know, or escorts or whatever.
Oh, wow.
And just like Amsterdam story, I was with my mom and I'm like, dude, for real, you're giving me like an escort card? I'm like, hey, my friend, like here. I'm like, I'm good, dude. But it was like every like 50 or so yards or 40 yards, I was just another random. Maybe they banned them. I don't know. I went there maybe in 2010 or so, maybe more than 10 years ago. That's when I went. When did you go to Las Vegas?
I think it was 3 years ago.
Then they probably like completely just said, hey, enough of this nonsense.
You know what I think it is? It's probably because it's so hot out there that nobody wants to be standing out there. So they could probably pay them, and then they pay them not as much. So they got them doing that work.
Less. Oh yeah, it's nothing happens in Las Vegas between, I guess you can say 11 and like 5 or 6. Nothing like no one's outside between like those times.
11 a.m.
Like 11 a.m. to around 5 or 6. Yeah, not 11 p.m. Everyone's awake at 11 p.m. 11 a.m. around 5 or 6 p.m. Like no one's outside. It's just too hot.
Yeah, it was so hot, and we're idiots when we were there. We were like, oh, let's go walk outside. It's hot.
It's like
it's a different type of heat. Like
it's painful.
Yeah, like the heat, like it cradles you. Like it just like your back.
Like the wind is just like hot blowing air in your face. It's like in some spots, like where I live near a lake. It could be the hottest day, most humid, but the breeze is nice. It's like, okay, go cool breeze. There, it's like, no, the breeze is like a heater in your face. There's no cool anything over there.
Did you know it's illegal? Like, if I go into a store in Las Vegas and ask for water, they have to legally give you water.
I didn't know that.
Did you know that? Yeah.
No.
This guy used to live there, and they'll give you like a gallon of water. Like, if you have a gallon, they'll fill you.
Oh, they got to fill it. Oh, okay, they don't just hand you a gallon.
Even if you don't have a gallon, they have to give you, like, you're supposed to have stuff to give to people.
Because you can die.
Yeah,
because you can just literally just die. Like I guess it's manslaughter if you don't help them.
Yeah, and actually another hot place I went to, which is amazing, I loved it, was New Orleans. New Orleans was awesome. I went.
Never been there.
Yeah, I went during Christmas time, and it was like right before Christmas.
Sure, it's festive.
Yeah, it was awesome being like out in like cut off shirt and like really hot outside riding bikes on like December 22nd.
Yeah, it's different because I always feel like December, Christmas was cold, like uncomfortably cold.
Yeah, just imagine like 4th of July, but like all the decorations are candy canes and stuff. Like that's what it felt like.
Yeah, candy canes in Florida don't make any, or you said New Orleans, but I saw pictures of my friend lives in Florida, and just pictures of her and her spouse and her kid. They're like, you see like these fake Christmas trees and like, but there's palm trees in the background, and there's like candy canes on palm trees. I'm like, that's just the weirdest thing ever, But they still, I think, I don't know if they canceled it, but there's this one famous Corona commercial that I guess is like Caribbean version or style, but it's the commercial is like a person sitting and they put like a lime in a Corona and then they click a button and the palm tree lights up with like Christmas lights.
Yeah.
That's literally was around for like almost 20 years throughout the 90s and like I think recently they just discontinued that because it was so old, but I don't know why they couldn't think of anything more original. Like why did Corona just keep that commercial? so odd and unoriginal.
Yeah, there's that one, and then there's remember the one with the Hershey's Kisses that they like ring like bells.
Yeah. I don't know if you sing it if it's like copywritten or whatever.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, it holds up though, but that one does hold up. That commercial, the ringing of the Hershey Kisses.
Yeah.
But it was, when it comes to travel, I think my worst experience. I mean, well, no, let me actually say positive for this one because the last episode I was just crapping on everything. But I think the best airlines I've been on was Virgin Airlines. Rest in peace, because it's not around anymore. Probably the best. I went from Newark to JFK. I think JFK to England, and it was the best like experience ever. They gave you everything, like everything. You didn't have to pay for anything.
Wow, that's awesome.
Like everything, like the ticket was so expensive. However, it covered everything. And I wasn't even first class, and the seats went up and had leg room, and it was probably the best experience. And close second is called Lufthansa. It's like the planes that go to Germany or like Netherlands area. It's probably second best to Virgin Airlines, but I did have one sort of art festival commission project some years ago, and they were like, "Oh, don't worry about it. We'll pay for everything." The guy that sort of got me the opportunity paid for the flight and everything, and I'm like, "Oh, great!" And then he's like, "Oh, JetBlue," and I'm like, "I've never flew on JetBlue before this time." I'm like, "Oh, wow, thank you. You're so kind and generous. You're paying for my flight and everything." And I get under JetBlue. I'm like, "What is this metal sausage I'm in? Like, this thing flies? Like, how is this possible?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, for an extra $20, we can give you like first class seats." I'm like, "Give me the first class seat." The first class seat is just like it's just two extra seats in the front with more leg room. That's all it is. I'm like, "That's it?" I'm like, "Fine, I'll take it." Like, whatever. Like, that was like the worst. Never again with JetBlue. I mean, it's cheap and affordable. If you're just taking like a 2-hour or 3-hour flight, sure, fine. But like anything more than that is unbearable. But I think I wish Virgin Airlines was still around, because if it was, then I'll be taking that all the time. But again, like I was saying in the last episode, like traveling and babies. Not a good mix. I don't know. But again, maybe I want to backtrack if I ever have a kid. I might want to travel too, and I'll be that guy. But I don't know. And then everyone will hate me for it. But yeah, I do encourage everyone to, and also like who you travel with is really important. And I would say this though: don't travel with your girlfriend, or if you're like just met someone and you like each other and it's like 2-3 months into the relationship and you're like, "Hey, let's go to this place." Say no, just don't do it. If you want to ruin your relationship, then go ahead, do that. I think because traveling just pulls because like we were saying before about change and adapting, like for some people, like sometimes traveling pulls the worst out of you because so being in the location is like, that's the easy part, but it's like getting there, settling down, being comfortable, like that whole transition is very like challenging for most people, and witnessing someone go through that is like, you're so unattractive right now. And then once you're there, you're good, and then you travel back, but the whole thing, you're like, wow, is this person always this way? Like, because once you see how a person adapts or goes through a change, and it may give you a different perspective on that person, in a good or bad way. For some people it's good, for some people it's bad.
Yeah, especially if like you see a guy like break on a trip, like it's just like there's a delay in the airfare or something, and like they gotta like sleep in a like, corridor somewhere, and they're just like complaining, whining, and you're like, wow.
Like I know when I had a trip I think I had 2 trips to Florida back in 2017-18, where I was traveling by myself because I had an art show over there, and it was a great opportunity. It was fun. The show was great. But I had an 8-hour delay.
Ooh.
And the flight was supposed to be like around like 7 p.m. at night. So 8-hour delay. Added together. Oof. I'm like, what is that, like 2 a.m. in the morning, 3 a.m.? And people were just flipping out. Like, this is bull. Like, I have a kid here. I'm like, thank God I'm by myself, because like if I was with like my girlfriend at the time, which is not my fiance right now, a completely different person. If I was with her, she would have flipped and like, I'm going home. This is ridiculous. This is nonsense. And then the same thing happened coming back. It was like another like 6-hour delay coming back. I'm like, never again with JetBlue. And this is why another reason I hate JetBlue, because of so many delays. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. Thank God I haven't suffered too many of those.
You gotta be paid for though. It's cheap.
Yeah.
Super cheap.
Yeah.
Super cheap.
I would say, just to go off topic. Well, it's on topic, but instead of going with the worst, my best experience,
best is nice.
I would say, oh my God, I'm just drawing a blank right now. Florida, the Keys.
That's nice.
Yeah, the Keys. Yeah, that was amazing. We went for a wedding, and it was also, we took it as an opportunity for me and my girlfriend's vacation, like from work, so like we took time off and we went there.
So it was a good trip.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That's good.
And it was very crazy to see all the roosters around. That's like a huge rooster population over there. But that was one of the best experiences I had. In Montreal.
It's a common pet, or not even a pet, it's just something that you just have, and like roosters are just everywhere there.
Yeah.
But the first time I've been to Florida, I was like 10 years old, or no, younger than that, maybe like 8 or 7. And it was just literally, my mom said, do you guys want to go to Disney World? And we're like, yeah, like pack your bags, we're leaving tomorrow. And we just went, she drove like from New Jersey to where's Disneyland? Disney World?
I think it's in Orlando, right?
Yeah, we drove to Orlando. And then after that, I think we drove through the Florida Keys. Being an 8-year-old in a car from New Jersey to Florida, that was an adventure. That was interesting. It for me, even though it was like maybe like a week, it felt like the whole summer. It felt like literally months being in a car.
Yeah.
And Mom was like, just be quiet, go to sleep. That's all she said. Go be quiet, go to sleep. And before we left, she made like, I don't know how many empanadas. Like, if for those that don't know, empanada is or empanadilla is like a beef patty, or a patty with whatever you want to put in it. And to save money, all she did was just like she made like, I don't know how many, like 100 or 2. And like, if you're hungry, just reach out back and eat a trunk warm beef patty.
Nice.
But that was a very interesting, and Disney World was interesting. It was fun, but I don't know how she did it with 3 kids by herself, taking us. I don't know. Maybe we're unbearable, maybe not. I don't know. I don't think she's ever complained about it. I think she's always enjoyed that trip. But it was just like, I think she had it planned ahead of time.
Yeah.
She didn't ask us until like the day before. Until like, okay, pack your bags. We're leaving tomorrow morning.
Wow. Yeah, that's like a surprise.
Yeah.
Did you see? There's like a really viral video of that. Like when the mother surprises the 2 little girls about going to It's really funny.
No, and
but I was just picturing. I'm like,
wait, did they cry?
The one girl.
I think I did see that. This is some time ago. She's like, we're gonna go to Disney World, Disneyland. Like, really? And they just start crying. Like, why are you crying? Like, I'm so happy.
Yeah. I wonder what like. How did you feel? Like, if you recall back when you were
I don't think I was crying. I don't think I was like dancing, crying like that little girl. But like, it was like, really? Okay. And so my mom had a rule when, like, believe it or not, growing up, we had a rule, like, you had to be asleep by 8 p.m. Didn't matter if it was summer or winter. Like, that was the rule. So it was kind of bizarre being in the summer, like, and the sun's still out and like you're going to sleep. It was really bizarre. But around like 7 p.m. on a summer day, I forgot what day it was, but it was definitely like in the summer, because not during the school day, but she just said, pack your stuff. Tomorrow we're going to Disney World. And we're like, I think my sister probably cried. I don't really know. We packed, and then the next, like, we left around like 5 a.m. in the morning, and that's it. I
was wondering, like, if you thought maybe it was like, are you for real, or like?
No, I mean, my mom wasn't really a prankster or a person that would say false things growing up. So yeah, when she said it, I took her seriously. Like, yeah,
because the tomorrow thing too is like really like short notice, and you're like, what?
Yeah, I mean,
that's awesome.
I mean,
I'm
not
surprised.
Maybe because we couldn't keep a secret. I have no clue why she told us like last minute like that. But it was one of those things where, very, very memorable trip. And would I go to Disney World again as an adult? I don't know. I feel like Disney World is for kids and people that have kids. Like, I would feel kind of odd just going to Disney World.
Yeah.
Just like an adult. Like, I don't know. Like,
yeah.
What are you doing? It's definitely one of those places for kids, unless you bring a kid with you. I don't know.
And it's expensive too. So.
It's really expensive. The ticket, just getting in, is like, I don't know, $150, $200. I have no clue.
I've heard the case though from like parents, that my friends of mine that are parents now, that like they enjoyed it so much more now that they're older. Yeah.
Maybe I'll try again, but I can't. I'll go as an adult, like as a parent, not right now.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I'm broke right now, so I couldn't even afford it if I want to.
Yeah, and I think yeah, same. And I think like one of my friends even got married there. Like, they do like this thing where you can get married. I guess you do like the whole like fairy tale thing.
I remember this is one viral video of if you're familiar with Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
Where the character Gaston is sort of gym rat, kind of like just like a macho type of character. But the guy that played Gaston, you wear like this sort of suit. It looks like a muscle suit. Mm-hmm. And one guy, he says, like, this is a viral video that happened a few years ago, where he said, "Oh, I will like challenge you to like a push-up contest." And so the Gaston character and just a random fan visitor, they're doing push-ups, and the guy's struggling, the challenger struggling, and the Gaston guy, he does a one-handed push-up and says, "I think you need help. Do you need a hand?" And he just continues doing one-handed push-ups.
Oh my god.
And the guy was like just legit jacked. But it's one of those things like, oh yeah, like when these people that work for Disney, they're like really Disney fans. Like, they're not like, I mean, obviously they're getting paid for it, but like, you have to love the character that you're playing or know it ins and out, because I'm sure there's some rules to qualifications. Like, if you're gonna play Belle or Ariel, whatever, you need to know like everything from. I'm guessing. I think so.
Yeah,
you would have to.
Yeah, you gotta really. They probably do like some like tests beforehand and.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Things like that. Little quizzes.
I mean, not me though. Like, it's Orlando, so it's just hot. I mean, I'm good at complaining. But like, for the most part, Orlando is a swamp. For the most part, it's just a swamp where they just covered it with cement
and Mickey Mouse hats.
But I think what ruined Mickey Mouse hats for me, not maybe ruined, maybe just gave me a different perspective, was when Marilyn Manson wore a Mickey Mouse hat. for like an album cover, and it's kind of like tilted to the side. I'm like, yeah, like I can never view the Mickey Mouse hat the same ever again.
You know what really ruined Disney for me was just learning about like the whole history.
Like Disney being
like Walt Disney, the guy,
not the nicest guy towards a particular demographic and group of people.
And then also like the movies having like weird like sexual things in it.
Yeah, they didn't age well. I mean, if you, the Steamboat, is it Steamboat Mickey, Steamboat something? But yeah, I mean, it's definitely of its time. Like a lot of the old school, I mean Warner Brothers as well, but a lot of the old school Disney, not episodes, but like animations were definitely of its time. And you're like, oh yeah, there's a lot of you're communicating a lot of kind of messed up things. I do appreciate the craft, like, because without those animations you wouldn't have Avatar. I'm sure you couldn't even have that. But I mean, the craft, the actual development of those animations are impressive, but like what they're communicating now, I can't really jump on that bandwagon. You know, it's, like it's almost similar to The Birth of a Nation. That film, ridiculously racist, just completely racist. Like top to bottom, left, right, from beginning to end, completely racist and just false. And however, and I hate to say however to something like that, but like it definitely pushed the technology of cinema and film, regardless of what it was communicating. The actual filming of it was very impressive, and how they filmed it and how quickly they filmed it, and the budget that they had is like, oh, that's pretty impressive. Fucked up what you're communicating, but like the actual, a lot of how do you say, when it comes to animation and film, you know, early animation and film have, well, what they're communicating was just completely just outright racist and bigoted. However, what you can get out of it is like, well, it did push that particular craft to where, you know, not where it is now, but at that time. But then again, that's me being a brown guy trying my best to like pull something positive from something really, really, really negative and really, really just really toxic and just messed up. But then that's me. I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of people might disagree with me. Like, no, that's completely messed up. Doesn't matter what it is. But, you know, like, for example, this is completely has nothing to do with traveling.
We just turned to Florida.
Nothing to do with traveling. Now. But, you know, that's, you know, I try my best to kind of, all right, that's messed up, but what can I learn from it? And what is there something in there that you know, I can learn from, or I hate to say the word positive, but there's something out of this that can be positive. If maybe it could just be like, okay, let's not repeat that. Maybe that's a positive thing. But nothing to do with traveling, but
there's a few more things on Disney. Did you ever see that like short? I don't know if it was like a collaboration or something that was unreleased or never meant to be released, but it was like Salvador Dali, and he like teamed up with Disney, and they were supposed to release like an animated film.
Yes, yeah.
And they have it like it's up online, like on YouTube. I'll link it.
I've seen it. Beautiful.
Salvador
Dali is an interesting guy. He wasn't just a surrealist as a painter. He was a surreal person. Very interesting guy.
Yeah, and then the last thing on Disney before I shut the book on that. Well, one other quick thing before I say the last thing. That was one word that I never used to say right for
surreal
20 years of my life. No, Disney.
I
used to say Disney, and then one day some kid was like, he's like, "What did you say?" He's like, and then he like started snapping his fingers in my face, like,
Disney.
You know, like, yeah, Disney.
No, you didn't.
Yeah. And I was like, he's like, it's Disney, like a knee. And I was like, what?
What age was this then? How old were you?
I must have been like, I was older. But I never really said Disney a lot, you know? So I never really, it must have just flew over people's heads, or they're just like, what? Like, but The last thing. Did you ever hear of that conspiracy with Frozen? Like why they wrote Frozen?
No, I actually have no clue what you're talking about.
You really? No, I'm gonna enlighten you real quick on this. So apparently, the company Disney was really upset because there were so many searches about how Walt Disney had frozen himself.
He froze. There's a conspiracy about him being in a cryogenic chamber, still alive somewhere.
Yeah, and there's a really good video on it where it breaks it down like really well. I forgot the name of it, but I'll find out. And basically, what they said is that to dominate the searches, what they did was they wrote a new movie and they named it Frozen. So when you put Disney Frozen, like Walt Disney Frozen, it completely like you can't find the story anymore.
And messes the algorithm up.
Yeah. So basically, they're saying that's what kind of like it was a way of them to kind of erase that, to get that out of people's,
if that's a
people's
way
crosshairs.
That's a way of doing that, then yeah.
Yeah, and apparently the reason why it's a conspiracy is because people believe that the cryogenic freezing actually will work. So.
I mean,
because there was a
if
case.
That was true, but almost anyone born and raised back in those times, I'm sure a lot of their beliefs and points of views are really messed up for the maybe understandable, even accepted at the time, but now it's like, yeah, that's not cool anymore to believe these things or to have those point of views.
Yeah.
But even if that was true, would I even want him alive still? I don't know. It's good,
they just I think they wanted to wipe that away so people don't know. And that was their way of doing it.
Yeah. Interesting. Have you ever had like lunch or dinner with a grandma or grandparent and talk to them, and then like they're cool and cute, and then as the conversation goes along you're like, what did you just say?
Yeah, no.
Come again? What? No, that's not okay to say. No, for real, they're just like, look at them. They're just like, no, you can't say that.
Yeah, no, I do have those experiences.
Yeah.
And a lot of my grandparents died, most of it, because I was like the last child of the family. So I pretty much got the tail end, Yeah. So I just have like childhood memories, but I do have some memories.
Yeah. And this is, see, I got it now. I'm going to bring it back to traveling. This is why it's really important to, I guess you can say, travel. Because, you might, even for me, I might think, okay, this is the norm and this is okay to say and okay to do. But then when, you travel to different places and you kind of be like, oh, wait, okay, this mindset I have, this point of view I have, it's because I was raised in this culture or that culture, and now I'm here and it's different over here. And I don't want to say one's more right than the other, but I think it's really important to like just be cultured. And I don't mean just read a book, like actually like go, this is why I always admire Anthony Bourdain, rest in peace. Believe it or not, he's one of those guys that when he passed, it really like hit me like hard. And I'm like, I've never met this guy before. Why am I like crying? And but he's one of those guys where like, he's like, no, I'm going to go and not just eat the food, but like talk to the people and socialize and embrace everything, good and bad, and learn from it. I'm saddened by that he took his life, but it's I think he's definitely, if you're gonna pick an avatar, an example of like how to travel, is probably Anthony Bourdain. That he's probably like the OG traveler.
Yeah.
If you're gonna pick one, I can't really think of anyone second. I have no clue.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think be like Anthony Bourdain, guys. Not like me. Be like him. But yeah, travel, expand your mind and your experiences. Get uncomfortable, and enjoy the food and the people.
Yeah, if you're single, also really enjoy the people.
Sure,
if you could.
Yeah, if you're single, really enjoy the people. I don't know. I guess I know what you mean by that. But okay. But yeah, we kind of went everywhere. It's kind of bizarre, but yeah. I think it's pretty cool conversation.
Yeah, I mean it's been a good one. Number 12. Traveling.
I didn't even go through any of my notes. We just started talking.
Yeah, we just started hopping around all the places we went to. Give us a like if you've ever gone on a trip anytime in your life, and also subscribe. Leave some comments on some of your favorite trips, some of your favorite places.
Yeah,
and we're looking forward to the next few episodes. We got some awesome things in store for you guys, and in our ever-changing plane that we're building as we're flying it.
Yes.
So, for episode 12, my name is Jose Rodriguez.
I'm David Diokendo.
And this is Words Are Tough. Thank you.
Bye-bye.